Welcome to the Crypto Podcast. You can find all our episodes on the cryptopodcast.org. We're also on BitChute and YouTube. You'll find the links in the podcast description. I'm also a podcasting coach because I've got 4 other podcasts, and you'll find everything on bio.link/podcaster. Today, my guest got a very nice title, Chief Pencil Officer and Founder of Fintech Review. Please welcome Tristan Pelloux. Did I do it justice?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Roy.
No problem. So you might let the listeners know your journey. I suppose, obviously, we're going to talk about Fintech Review, but I suppose I know you've got a banking kind of journey and everything. So let's go back to the start, your full journey.
Yeah, sure. So I spent a few years in London working the banking industry, banking, financial services. So doing a bunch of stuff there, but mainly focused on corporate strategy, corporate finance, laterally developing strategic partnerships with fintech startups. So I got interested in innovation in financial services, what was going on. And I'm not that old, but obviously, I started in 2015, where fintech was less visible as it is now. At that point, a few neobanks were starting, and you were starting to hear about Revolut, and they had not so many customers. So so I got super interested in that field. And in early 2020, actually before the word changed, I started Fintech Review, which was originally a blog, and it evolved into being a bit more of a media platform on fintech. It was just to try to find a medium for all this interest and passion into fintech, to have a way to express it and interact with what is going on in the world in fintech.
So you mentioned Revolut. I'm a big fan of Revolut, and I also I have Wise for a business account and Estonian account, and not as good the rates, to be honest. But I used to do currency exchange at one stage. So and the reason being is when I was doing foreign property in Poland, I'd send money from the bank in Ireland from the clients, and it would take two weeks to arrive sometimes. And they used to charge the clients 5%, and it used to annoy me. So then I set up a system where I was negotiating with the banks for the clients and getting it down to 1%. Eventually set it up that I was getting it at like 0.1% and making good money from it. But the amount of people that actually do transfers, sometimes they do a double. Like in Poland, they'll say, "Oh, it must go to euro first and then dollar." They were charging them 10%. And I'm looking at PayPal recently because somebody just on an affiliate link that I had, and they done because it was set up. My account was set up in euro. They paid in dollars, and it ended up between their fee and everything 11% that they're taking. And yet I look at Revolut, because I go for the metal, the better one, because you get Forex rate. It's fantastic, the rates. Plus, when you're sending something, it's instant. It's not 2 weeks. So if I'm sending something to you in Spain, or if you're in the UK or in France, you'll get it straight away, and they're not taking 11% out of it.
No, I agree. I think that the reason why so many of these companies, TransferWise, now Wise, emerged is that when it comes to FX, it's terrible most of the time. And it's still terrible in, as you say, in many countries, and many people still are paying awful rates. And I agree. I mean, I started using PayPal 2 years ago when I started being much more in the digital world, and I was really surprised by the rates by the fees they're taking. Same for Stripe, and you realize that we still have some way to go to get to somewhere where it's decent. I don't know what the rate is, but obviously taking north of 5% is not acceptable in many businesses. I mean, many businesses, if someone is making this margin, you're like, yeah, dude, why? you're not providing a lot of value here. So yeah, I do think that, but you first need more adoption, that these companies get scale, and then start eating away at incumbents rates. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I still see some astonishing fees, and it's 2022, and you're like, yeah, well, what the hell? But
because like if you look at say MasterCard as well and Visa, because I remember I was talking to a guy in Portugal, he was the main Ferrari dealer, like, and he was saying, yeah, they take the 3%, and I was like, that's insane, you know, that they're getting so much. And between PayPal and MasterCard and Visa, like they have a monopoly. And like we were talking with one guy, and they were saying about somebody transferred massive amount of Bitcoin, and the fee was something like $2 or $3. And you know, just I know there's the security around it, but there's no way. Like even I believe even 1% is too high. Like it should be 0.1%. That everybody could kind of, you know, accept that.
yeah, no, as you say, the issue is so with the networks, Visa, MasterCard, is that they have a duopoly, and it's very hard to displace. And you had an initiative, but then collapsed of several banks that were like, okay, let's start a rival, but it actually collapsed because it's hard. There is a scale that you need to reach for it to be profitable, and you need to reach it very quickly. But I mean, I'm when it comes to innovation, and also because my background is in strategy, I do believe that when there is an opportunity, eventually we'll have someone who says, okay, fine, you know what, I'll tackle this problem. The issue being that it's easy to do retail FX transfers. So that's why so many companies are emerged and doing it, you know, Wise, we said Revolut, and many others, because it's easy to do. Like tackling credit card, you know, not credit card, like credit card networks and card networks is much harder. And you will need someone who says, okay, let's do it. And then an investor backing in, say, like, let's throw a couple of hundred millions and really disrupt this market. But for now, no one has taken the steps to do that.
Exactly. And just on Revolut as well, it's like you can actually do the crypto. I know it's not in your own wallet, but you can actually go in, pick the different ones, and buy, you know, even small amounts of commodities and everything. And it's just an easy way to get started, because even though it seems easy once you understand how to do it, you know, using wallets and everything, when you don't, it's kind of a minefield out there. Plus you're hearing all the negativity about all the different you know, people robbing the money from people.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, I mean, for me, for greater adoption of crypto, you definitely need to make it easy, because not everybody has to be like an expert, because otherwise then a lot of people are just going to say, you know what, let's forget about this. I want something easy. So that's great that some companies are taking the steps to do that, because same as you, when I tried, I was like, okay, like I was saying, like a few years ago, I was like, okay, let's see what this is all about. And I was like, okay, well, this is way too complicated, and this wallet and these exchanges and these keys, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it can't be. You can't assume that everybody wants to do that, because I don't want to do that, and I know fairly well what's going on. I'm like, most people, the experience is not great. So you do need to go towards a system where it's closer to a bank account, like easy app, and I buy, I sell, and I know where it is, and with the right level of security as well, but you know, much more simpler, like just simpler. Like the customer experience needs to be flawless, otherwise you're gonna lose everybody on the way.
I mean, like you said, like the Revolut, like, because even if I do a purchase, it has to be confirmed by me on my phone, which prevents the fraud. Because I remember years ago when I had a business account in Ireland, there was somebody that done, I got the money back, the bank covered it, but it has happened, and I know a lot of other people that has happened, but it has never happened with my Revolut. I'm not sure about other people, but they seem to have a very good security system.
Yeah, I mean, for now it's working well. I mean, the regulator in the UK has pointed out that probably neobanks don't invest enough in cybersecurity. So for now, they haven't had a major incident, but but that's the issue, that you're starting, you're you're a fast-growing startup, and you need to choose where to go and where to invest, and compliance. You're trying to do things so that security is good. The advantage that they have over incumbents is that their technology stack is much better. So makes if you invest $1 in compliance at Revolut, gets you much further away than if you invest $1 in compliance at a bank like Lloyd's or HSBC, that is much more complex. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, a problem with cybersecurity and threats is that the more you invest, the more like people will try harder to get at you, and it's a never-ending story, because basically for as long as financial services has existed, companies have developed new ways, more secure, but every time you have like new ways to steal your money. So like if you look back, when we started to sign checks, people said, oh, okay, that means that now fraud is over because you signed these checks. Okay, like took a few years, and then you're gone. And then we're like, okay, now we're gonna have PIN on cards. Okay, well, no. And then two-factor authentication, and then, well, there are new ways. So the thing is, I mean, and to the point where you're gonna end up, I mean, there are now super secure ways, like, with fingerprints, and you think that it would be harder to actually get past that. But the reality is that when there is money to be made, you will find some people with bad intentions that will find a way to steal it from you.
Yeah, I've heard people taking the PIN, that they can make a copy of the PIN, the SIM card, and just withdraw from your account. And also, there's a lot of people, even somebody I wanted to guess, he lost 100,000. Like, he went onto the Google to do, and it was on the top, so it was above the original one on a fake account, and he put in his details, and wham, gone. So you have to be very careful. I know you're an avid reader, and I see some of the stuff with like Gary Gensler, who he used to be in MIT, because I remember actually doing a course on that. It was a free course, and that's why I kind of learned a bit more about it. But like, he seems to be kind of leading the role for the American government. What's your thoughts on kind of what he's doing in regulation?
Yeah, so I mean, when he was appointed to lead the SEC, the crypto industry initially was quite scared, because he's been a bit bearish, let's call it, about the whole thing. But I think overall, to be honest, and there was an article recently in Bloomberg that the crypto industry, they want more regulation because they know it's coming anyway. So the thing is, it's actually quite smart, is that if you know something is coming, you better be involved so that you can shape it in some form. So I think what they want, what they try to do, is that the SEC doesn't have oversight over crypto, and that you set up a new regulator. And could be because you have regulators for various things. I mean, if you look at the US, you have the Office of the Comptroller, you have the SEC, and they have like different kind of remits. So you could have another one. So they try to argue that it's very different from financial markets, so that you need a different kind of regulator. But I do think that ultimately someone will regulate it, either SEC, new regulator, and it will be good for the industry, because more regulation means like more trust into the system. Even though you do have lots of institutional investors and more adoption, the thing is the key for me to even broader adoption and mass adoption is more regulation, so that that what you're doing is safe, legal, that if something bad happens, someone will look after you, and I think you do need that at some point.
And like I was looking before, like I mean I've got an Estonian company, but it's not crypto related. But I was looking before, and it's actually big. There's a lot of crypto companies there, and I was trying to dig it out because I glanced through it, but I saw that the regulations are kind of changing there. I don't know, do you know anything about that? Because there's a load of different companies that are based in Estonia.
No, I mean, I don't know. I know like Estonia has been quite at the forefront like of the fintech industry, like making it super easy for companies to set up and stuff. So I don't know for crypto in particular. I know like at the European level, that same more regulation is coming, same way as the US, the UK, but let's see. I mean, these things take a bit of time. There's a lot of lobbying involved, so let's see what shape or form it takes. For now, it's not unified. So in Germany, for instance, they've taken the stance that if I remember correctly, that crypto gains are not taxed. And I don't know, like I don't think that it's the case in other countries. So
like I know in Poland it's like it's something like 19% at such a level, and then over a million is like 25%. Or so yeah, and I heard about Germany as well before, that it's not taxed there. So I think you just have to, like the thing with Estonia, say that if you're doing it through there, like you don't have the corporation tax, so you're paying 20% income tax depending on obviously on where you're based. But and if there's a double taxation agreement, but if you're growing money, you're not taxing it, so you can actually benefit from it. Whereas most most countries, they'll take out the corporation tax. There's no way around it.
Yeah. I mean, for instance, the US, there's no way around it. If you do business in the US, you're gonna be taxed big time, and they tax cryptocurrency gains. I mean, the thing is, the US, they're pragmatic, so they're like, look, there's a lot of money in this thing, well regulated, but more importantly, we will tax it because there's money to be made, and we don't want to miss it. So that's fair game.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that you're an avid reader, and like when I was trying to understand this crypto world, I read a lot. They were all useless, to be honest, which I didn't get it, but I got an NFT book, which was fantastic. And I'm just wondering, is there any crypto books that you have read that you would recommend people to look, that just kind of, it makes you get it?
So actually, I mean, I don't read a lot of books. I read a lot of articles, reports, but on an annual basis, I think I read like maybe 2 books, but I read 2 hours a day. But the thing is,
okay, so that's why I assume, because I had heard that you were reading 2 hours a day, so it's just basically the research you're doing online. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's about, obviously, I mean, if I want to understand what's going on, I need to read. Before I write, I need to read, basically. So I try to diversify as much as possible in terms of the range of online media or sources I can read. So it goes from stuff from McKinsey, where they write long reports, to all the way to Protocol or CoinDesk and everything in between, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and I'm trying to get quite a diversified point of views as well. So obviously, if you read stuff about crypto on CoinDesk, it's going to be like, yeah, everything is great and stuff. And then when you read a more like business view from Forbes or Wall Street Journal, McKinsey will be more into the detail of what it means for businesses. So that's why I try to read a lot from different sources to get my head around a lot of concepts. and also like sometimes going into the deeps of white papers to also get, but yeah, that's what I do, like rather than read books. But so that's why, I mean, I don't have any particular recommendation. Rather than, I always tell people is that try to read from different sources. Don't stick to just one, because then you won't even realize, but there is a editorial line of any online media, and they will push you in some direction, because it makes sense. Like the guy is in charge of like deciding what gets published and what doesn't. Will have a view, and I do. I mean, I do have a view on things, and then I will publish things in that I do believe are right or wrong. But I mean, I'm quite broad in the sense that what we cover at Fintech Review, but there's some things that like stuff around gambling. I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested in covering this topic. I don't think it's good for the people. So I'm like, okay, like, yeah, let's forget. But I do cover like everything else. But so that's why it's good to, to diversify, to avoid this bias.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. And just on my Awakening podcast, I kind of do something similar, like, from the kind of Ukraine situation. I've got people from Russia, from people, from Ukraine, and then somebody on the border, an American who's actually, and getting totally different stories from each side. But then people can make up their own mind. But whereas if you look at the media, you're going to just hear one side of the story most of the time. So yeah, it's the same in the fintech world. So just curious, have you covered mining? Have you kind of investigated the kind of mining in the crypto world?
Yeah. There was actually a good article, I think it was in Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal, like a few weeks ago, like on the impact of mining on energy prices in a few towns around New York, and which led to the recent ban or like pausing of all mining operations in the state of New York. Because the thing is, I think obviously, like for crypto to stay in the long run, you need more like a proof of stake rather than proof of work. The sense that it can't be consuming the energy it consumes now, for like obvious reasons, is that we're in a world where people care much more about the environment and climate change and transition to a more sustainable world. So you can't have something that develops and takes more importance that is naturally, but by essence consumes so much energy. But I think there are plenty of solutions, and we're moving in that direction. So yeah, I mean, it made sense when it was small and it was cool and it was new, and why not? But now when you see mining farms and they consume the energy of like a town, and it's also, as you were saying, in Europe, we have a problem with energy prices right now. So you can't have as well something that comes up and consume so much energy and takes prices up. And what I was saying about regulation as well is that the problem is, if the industry doesn't tackle it themselves, it will be imposed on them. And I mean, 100% is that at some point it will. For now, I think it's okay, but if it becomes too visible and like it's obvious that there is a problem and stuff, you will have governments coming down on them and say, like, you can't. I mean, you've seen yesterday or the day before. Now, no more cars like beyond 2035. No more cars and this is imposed on manufacturers, on car manufacturers. Like, look, you can't have gasoline and gasoline cars past 2035. So either you find a solution yourself, or someone will fight it for you, but it's going to be harder because they're going to be coming at it not understanding at all and be like, look, you can't consume more than X energy, or we banning mining altogether, and then you need to adapt pretty fast after that.
I kind of fear what they're doing on that, because I mean I've known over the years that there was plenty of cars. I think Ford even had a car that was actually able to run, it wasn't electric, he'd another one, but like there's people have done cars on water, the self-sustaining cars, and sometimes the inventions, either the inventor disappears or else the big boys buy it and just park it. And so like there is, definitely systems out there that can, we don't have to be paying so much as, I put up a post recently, putting the mask over your eyes when you're filling the tank because it's getting painful at the moment. Like, but like one thing that I fear is that, you've like they're pushing the electric, and like when you have an accident on a motorway, because it happened in the winter here. I don't have an electric, I have a diesel, but like we were like 4 hours on the motorway. Can you imagine if something like that happens and you're 6 hours and you've all electric cars? Who's going to clear the motorway? Because there's no car, because you're not going to turn off the engine because you need to be warm. Well, whatever way it heats the car, but like I don't think they're going to last that long. Can you imagine like in the winter months in some of these harsher countries, and you've got 80-90% of the cars that are electric and they're all kind of stuck on a motorway for 6 hours? I think it's going to be impossible to clear something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, I think, I mean, this kind of changes. The thing is, it's because also it's a visible part of climate change. But when you look at emissions, most of it is not coming from cars. It's coming from stuff like boats and planes, but it's easier to say, oh look, we're banning cars past 2035 than saying, look, we're banning cargo boats. Because if you look at the emissions of cargo boats, like I think I saw a stat was that the 10 largest cargo boats in the world make more emissions than all the cars in Europe. So, but it's easier to do that than rethink the supply chain in the world and stuff like that. So that's why what I'm saying is that for crypto mining, the thing is, you can have all the guys that say, no, look, it's less than the banking industry or stuff like that. Fine. But if you're not convincing me, because obviously it's not convincing to say that, because the banking industry is moving much more money than the crypto industry. The thing is, if it's not convincing me, like when politicians are going to get into that problem because people are starting to say, hey, yeah, my energy prices are going up because there is this mining in my town, then they're going to look at the problem. And when they start looking at your business, it's from there, it's not going to go well. And then a few months later, you're going to have a law that they're not going to look deep into how it works. They're just going to say, look, easy, this is your energy consumption. This is maybe your CO2 emission. Look, it needs to go to zero. And that's it. And then from there, you need to adapt and pretty quick. So that's what I'm saying. And I think in the US, that's what they're doing. They're trying to influence and lobby so that the regulation comes from a new regulator that they have more control over than the SEC. But it's the same in Europe. And I think this is where you want to be in control of your, this is business strategy 101, but when you have your business and you have the different forces, one of them is the government, and you want to keep an eye, you want to be able to foresee what's coming from there, rather than just ignore it and say, look, you don't understand, you're never going to regulate me and stuff. Well, okay, but this is just putting your head in the sand.
Have you covered NFTs at all in your review?
Yeah, I do cover NFTs. I still need to get my head around the use cases in the long run is like, where do you go from just buying bored apes and actually what are the use cases for artists and like whatever they are, from music to like design and stuff. So I still need to be convinced about the use cases. I do think that, for instance, if the metaverse kind of pans out and is actually something, NFTs can have a place in stuff like gaming and things like that. But beyond, I'm not sure that I see yet the usefulness and like the real added value of NFTs.
I had a guy, I haven't released it yet. I think it's called Mirrors, the company, but basically they were creating for the gaming, and you were able to move it around for different games, but like a personality, so that, because normally it's a certain thing, a gun or whatever, but they were including personality, which I hadn't seen before. And I think people can get creative, but I'm seeing a lot of frauds. I mean, I was bidding on one recently, and I know I've mentioned it on the thing, but I've kind of developed since I've discussed it. And it was like a bid on OpenSea, and it was like the minimum bid. So I reached it. Next, all of a sudden, I could see bid, and there was like 22 pieces of art. There's something going on here, and I was actually recording all the things, like, and it was definitely a bot at one stage, because I could see within seconds it was making all these bids, and started reaching out to the company because I was interested in doing it because of the utilities. There was way more utilities. I wasn't interested in the art, to be honest with you, because it was more the utilities. It was a lot more value to me. And they basically just took it off the bid then when it reached this time, and none of the people that bought it. So even though I had the highest next bid, if they didn't buy it, and then they just the bid removed, and like that's like being at an auction and it hits the reserve price, and then they decide, no, we're not selling it. And yeah, there was nothing done. And I tried to reach out to the company 5 times. I'm after reaching out. So like, I reckon there's a lot of that going on as well. And it needs to be really cleaned up. I'm not sure the other ones, the kind of competitors to OpenSea, but it seems to be kind of rotten to the core at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you had this thing was the guy from OpenSea who got charged with insider trading. So the thing is, or like at least they discovered that he was doing insider trading. That's where why I say like regulation is important, because otherwise you can't trust many of these exchanges, because I mean, even when the guys in charge of this exchanges who say, yeah, there is a lot of wash trading, there is a lot of fake orders and stuff, and you're like, yeah, dude, you can't be okay with that and inflate the volumes and inflate the prices, because people get screwed. And I'm like, you can't be saying, no, we know it, and it's fine, it's part of the game. I'm like, no, it's not. If you do this on a stock exchange, you go to jail. And the reason why there are so many rules is that because people were doing it, and now they can't do it anymore, and you have like so many rules when it comes to stock market, and you'll get the same rules. I mean, whether you like it or not. But the problem is you can't. I think there was a hope for many years that the industry will be able to self-regulate, and it was different from the traditional industry, and it would be much better. But the problem is that you very naturally you attract lots of people with bad intentions. And even if it's 5%, 10% of the people, the problem is it's going to taint the industry. It's going to bring the authorities to look at it, and then from there, so there was this utopia that we're all nice, and there are no bad intentions here, where no one is going to screw each other. And the reality is that the world is what it is, and that's why you're going to get the same kind of rules.
Yeah, and I mean, like if you look at, say, OpenSea, they're charging 2.5%. They're happy with that because if somebody is paying 1 ether instead of half an ether, they're getting a lot more money. So they're happy that there's people, and most people aren't doing the research because it's very simple to actually go in and go, who's bidding? What have they bought before? Oh, nothing. When did they open their account? Oh, just this month. Oh, they've bid on every single thing here. And I mean, like, I'm new to this, and if I can figure that out, they can put up systems, bots kicked out straight away, accounts closed straight away, but they don't. So it's 100%. Like, they're in on it, they're happy with it, and it's a shame because you have decent people that are actually trying to help the artists get money and avoid the bad boys that don't really pay them. And then just if they go through something like that and they get hurt on it, they're going like, this doesn't work at all, and they'll walk away from it, which is something that we don't want. We want the kind of a system that kind of looks after the right people instead of somebody at the end of the tunnel collecting all the fees.
Yeah, I think, I mean, trust is key. Trust is key when money is involved. Trust is absolutely important. That's also one of the reasons why incubate banks, even if they're not the best in the world, people still want to have their bank account with them and stuff like that because of trust. And you're like, okay, they've been around 100 years, they're not the best and stuff, but I can trust them. And for reasons that, for instance, if they do something bad, the execs will go to jail and stuff like that. And when you don't have trust is where there is an issue, because it's really important, as I was saying, for wider adoption, because you will always have early adopters and people that are willing to go past that and willing to risk a bit more, but because they love the experience, they see the gains. But the vast majority, they don't want to gamble their money, and they don't want to gamble their future. Like, I've been saving for years. I'm not gonna go on the platform, and if I don't trust that my money is safe, and so yeah, I mean, it's really super important. And as long as you don't clean up and you act and think about the long run, because as you say, these things are damaging their business over the long run, because you have people coming in and seeing that it's obviously all fake and that they're inflating volumes, and they're not cleaning up their platform, and then over the long run people go away.
It's like, yeah, just finally, like, like we're Mount Gox, that was a massive one, and something like 210 or whatever. But I was looking at a documentary about some guy in Canada, and I think 190 million, and he ran off with a lot of people's money, but basically the guy that founded the company already had a criminal record. And it's like, these things, they're hurting a lot of people. And this you just have to do, I think, what you said at the start, how you're researching everything and look at it, because sometimes people go in and just have open trust on a lot of these kind of platforms, and you need to actually do a lot of research, and then kind of don't just look on their platform, because they're obviously going to say everything brilliant about themselves. To do check Forbes, check all Bloomberg, check all the different ones. And so I suppose, like, with it, people can subscribe to your newsletter anyway, but you might, because thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, Tristan, you might let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm quite active on Twitter with Fintech_review, and on LinkedIn mostly. So I have a Facebook Fintech Review, but I'm not so active on it. But yeah, and then in my newsletter, I rant about fintech, crypto, and many more things. I'm trying to do the link between, as I was saying, I think people oversee, like, kind of forget a lot the politics aspect of everything. And because with politics, you have the influence on economics and business, which has an impact on fintech and crypto. And you can try to, like, not see it, but the problem is that there are always links between regulations. So I try to cover all that. I like to make some links and uncover what's going on looking at, as I said, different sources, and then I make my own view on what's going on in terms of trends.
And it's what, fintech review dot, what's this?
.net.
.net. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'll make sure I'll put the link both on the audio and the video. Thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, Tristan.
Thanks for having me, Ray.
No problem. So that's all for the Crypto Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on thecryptopodcast.org, on BitChute and YouTube. And as mentioned, I'm a coach as well. You find all my social media links plus the other podcasts on bio.link/podcaster. Until next week, take care.